It's Patriots, Texans in the AFC Divisional Round. What does New England got to do to get it done and move on to the AFC Championship? Let's break it down.
He's sacked, intercepted, into the end zone, touchdown, Patriots!
Welcome, everybody, to this week's game preview. And yes, the Patriots have moved on to the Divisional Round after a big win over the Chargers.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Look at us.
First playoff win here in New England since the 2019 season. And Ev, another big challenge this week. And let's just start with what we've been talking about all week, which, of course, is the Houston Texans defense. Ranks, top 5 across the board in pretty much all the major metrics. And when you just take the eye test, especially with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, those guys are absolute nightmares. It's going to be a big challenge for Drake Maye. I mean, everybody's saying this is the biggest challenge of this season for Drake Maye.
Of his career, of his football life. I mean, never faced a defense like this in college. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Texans defense is great. Full stop. Like, we don't have to, belabor that point too much. I mean, they're really, really good. I saw a stat this week that they haven't allowed a positive EPA passing game since week 2. Week 2, they've gone the entire season essentially producing a negative EPA in the passing game, which is good in case you don't know what EPA is. That's very, very good. They're a great pass defense. They're number 1 in the league in pretty much every category from a pass defense perspective. And it all starts, of course, up front. But I think that the secondary is really underrated as well. And, Derek Stingley is kind of the anchor on the outside, but Jalen Petrie, their nickel corner, is extremely good as well. Kamari Lassiter on the other side, big physical corner. So they have that ability to not only pressure the quarterback, but also take away the first read, take away your favorite read, and then make you hold the ball, which allows Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter to get after the passer.
So let's talk a little bit about their scheme. And again, this week, to me, Josh McDaniels. So glad to have him. He's seen it all. I know he'll come up with a good plan, but let's talk about what maybe that plan might be. And as Drake Maye told us, we've also seen they play a lot of zone. They mix in some man, though, as well. It seems like, though, they're at their best when they have it all in front of them. They're coming up, chance to be physical, especially those 2 linebackers who Drake Maye, I liked him mentioning, I have to be aware because these guys will lay a hit on you. They like to deliver the boom. He has to be selective about when he scrambles. But when you look at what these guys do schematically, what do you think Josh McDaniels might have in the bag to try to move the ball on this defense?
Right. I mean, I think this is the biggest advantage the Patriots have going up against a defense of this caliber. It is a do-what-you-do defense. They don't really mix it up too much. They're one of the simplest defenses in all of football by most of the metrics. You don't see a ton of disguising. You don't see a ton of blitzing. It's pretty much, these are our 4 guys in the pass rush. These are our 7 guys in coverage. And we cycle through maybe 2 or 3 different coverages. So it's impressive that they're so good with such simplicity, which we don't really see in the NFL nowadays. Now, people, especially nerds like me, it's Mike McDonald in Seattle. It's Brian Flores in Minnesota. It's Spagnuolo in Kansas City. Like, these defensive masterminds that are just cooking things up. That's not what the Texans do. They play their brand of defense. So you're going to see a lot of 3-deep zone, a lot of 4-deep zone, and a lot of man. And so with Josh McDaniels and with his experience, I do like the fact that he's going to have coverage beaters, whether it's flooding those zones or getting guys open against man coverage, that he's going to be able to find soft spots, voids, whatever you want to call it. So as much as it's a vaunted defense, the simplicity of it against an experienced play caller like McDaniels, I do think that helps the Patriots out.
Yeah, got to point out too, Ramondre Stevenson, another great game from him last week, doing it all. Could he be an X factor in this game? Because he's so effective at whatever he does. If you want to keep him in and have him block, he's going to, help out on the edges. He can do that. But I think there's also an opportunity for him to get lost in the mix a little bit. Like we saw last week with that big 48-yard game where nobody covered him. Drake finds him. He gets up the field. I think that might be a way to sneak some yardage. That's what I'm looking for out of this game. I'm looking for little ways to sneak out first downs, to try to acquire field position. Stevenson seems like maybe a piece.
Yeah, I think there's 2 elements to that. One is the screen game, which is effective against the Texans. They're 30th in EPA against screens. They're an aggressive defense. Their front wants to get up the field, so you can use that aggressiveness against them a little bit. And the screen game has also produced 9 explosive plays. That's tied for the most in the league against screens. So if you can get the running back out of the backfield, you can use some misdirection, maybe put both of them back there, go a little pony, get Travion Henderson and Ramondre in the backfield together and fake a screen one way, throw the screen the other way. I think the other element of their aggressiveness that you can take advantage of is quarterback scrambles, not runs by design, but Drake Maye breaking contain, getting out of the pocket, and scrambling. They are giving up the second most yards per carry on scrambles, almost 10 yards per scramble this season. So if you combine those two things, they only rush 4. So there's an open gap somewhere. There's 6 gaps across the line of scrimmage. You only got 4 guys in 6 gaps. So there's a way to get out of the pocket. And I thought, watching that game on Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I almost said the Packers because Aaron Rodgers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought Rodgers did get out of the pocket a little bit. He's just 42 years old, and he just doesn't have the juice in his legs anymore to really make you pay for it. So I think that Drake Maye, don't go out the back of the pocket because that's where Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter are going to be, go through the middle of the pocket. But I do think there are going to be opportunities for him to extend plays or scramble and create plays with his legs.
Yeah, well, let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots, which they just, you came out of the gate, didn't know how they were going to play against that offense with Justin Herbert that liked to sustain drives. This is a Patriots defense that was at the bottom of the league in red zone defense all year long.
Yeah.
They chip a couple red zone stops, force a field goal on one, get off the field on 4th down on the other. Did you expect that to come out? No. I know we've been talking about this all week, and I don't want to mean to talk about the Chargers game, but that defense was outstanding, and I just feel like if they play with that same kind of energy and the marriage of rush and coverage, and I thought Robert Spillane didn't put up a ton of big stats, but just having him as the hub in the center, getting everybody on the same page, that was a problem when he was out at times. But he was back, and this defense looked completely in sync like we hoped it might.
Yeah, I think, them getting healthy, and the good news is that Kyrus Tonga is back practicing. It sounds like Christian Gonzalez might have a chance to play in this game. So they're going to have all their parts on their defense, all their pieces on their defense, and that's what we were hoping for and waiting for is when you get Milton Williams back and you get Spillane back and you get Tonga back, can you just drop those guys back in and have it go back to where it was, let's say, week 5 against Buffalo, and they did a pretty good job against Josh Allen. And that's basically what we saw against the Chargers, is that this defense is fit together again. And it's a testament to Spillane, especially, I would say, staying ready and staying prepared, even though he was hurt, to play in that game. So this Texans offense, and when you look at the numbers, especially when you start to take out all the favorable field position that they get because of the defense and all the defensive touchdowns that they get, they're only 21st in the league in points per drive. They're 22nd in the league in EPA. So they're not a great offense when you put them on long fields and you make CJ Stroud go 75 yards to the end zone. But you got to take care of the ball. You got to win field position. It's one of those types of games.
Yeah, and Nico Collins seems like all signs are pointing to him. Suffered a concussion. Not like he's going to play this weekend. That's a big advantage for the Patriots, especially if Gonzalez is able to go.
Yeah.
But still, I think, Jaden Higgins is a young guy, but we've seen him make some explosive plays down the field. I think that's one thing about Stroud that does concern me. He can push the ball down the field. Without Nico Collins, he might have more limited options. But then I really look at Dalton Schultz at tight end, who led them in receptions this year, and Christian Kirk, who kind of came out of nowhere a little bit last week.
Yeah.
8 catches last week against the Steelers. So you like Marcus Jones, you like that matchup, but maybe Dalton Schultz is a sneaky little concern of mine. It is an area that the Patriots have had some struggles with throughout the year. He could be maybe a chain mover, but last point I'll make is CJ Stroud, it was a little bit of a struggle last week for him. The ball's on the ground a lot. He didn't look that comfortable. They were able to get pressure on him. If the Patriots can reproduce that pressure, I feel pretty good right now that they can get CJ Stroud to a place where he's not going to necessarily carve them up.
Yeah, we're talking to some of the Patriots defensive players this week. The word rhythm came up a lot, and I think that that's a great way to describe CJ Stroud. He's a rhythm quarterback. When he's sitting in clean pockets, when he's throwing on time, when the offense, they marry the run with the play action, and it's all kind of clicking, they can be difficult to stop. But when you get him off schedule, when you get them behind the chains on 3rd down, then it becomes a little bit more cumbersome for them. And one of the things in particular that he struggled with on film is like cover 0. When teams send the house and bring pressure like the Patriots did a lot against Justin Herbert, he's really struggled this season with handling pressure and also just having answers for things like all-out pressure. So that all comes, and that's all well and good, but you got to get him into 3rd and long to be able to start dialing that type of stuff up. So I think that this is a very, obviously Nick Caley, their offensive coordinator, has some exposure with Josh McDaniels, some exposure with Sean McVay. When I watch their offense, I see a lot more McVay than McDaniels. And one of the big things that they do on third down is they run a lot of bunch formations and condensed bunches at that. So they're going to run 3 receiver bunches in tight to the formation, and with that you get picks, you get crossers, you get all sorts of traffic in the middle of the field that defenses have to be able to sort out. So last week, Pittsburgh tried to sort it out in man coverage, and Christian Kirk on crossing routes at all 3 levels, just whoop right across the field for big plays. So that's the style of offense that they play. They run a lot of downhill runs. They run a lot of play actions off those downhill runs. And then in third down, they're going to try to get into those bunches and, get your rules and leverage all messed up. So if you get them out of sync and you get them out of their flavor of offense, then I think you can get them beat, especially without Nico Collins.
All right, well, that's going to do it. Huge game here for the Patriots. Spot in the AFC Championship on the line. Kickoff is at 3 p.m. Tune into the Patriots pregame show starting at 1:45. We'll see you then.